Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. It's absolutely fantastic to see you all here again. Well, there's not a star to be seen. It's totally overcast, totally clouded. We've had lots of rain, and I mean lots and lots of rain. There's water everywhere. At the moment it's not raining, which is good, but I'm looking for somewhere to shoot. And you know what? I've had a lot of you guys ask me about the light painting inside the shearing shed. I did quite a while ago, earlier this year. So I'm back. Have a look. Here's our shearing shed. I'm going to have a look at a different composition and just show you how I go about it, talk you through the whole thing. And in fact, I might even show you the editing of this image. And not only that, I think I'm going to make the raw files available so you can download this image and play with it yourself. So this is part of my new initiative to have those raw files available for you guys to have a look at and see if you can come up with something. Oh, by the way, there are mosquitoes everywhere. They are attacking me like monster. Their fangs are like as long as my fingers. I don't know why they breed them so much out here. But anyway, let's get into it. Let's get inside the shed. All right, well, here we are inside the shed, and as you can see, it's a different configuration to last time we were here. So there's all sorts of junk here, and last time we shot straight down this way, but I can't do that because of this stuff. So I'm going to be shooting down the other side, and it's good because it's a different composition. It still features all that beautiful old rustic timber that's inside the shed. But one thing I do need is just a few props to lay around the place. And this is what I often do when I come into a location like this. This is indoors, obviously. And so I'm going to bring in a few drums and barrels and just find some old rustic pieces of furniture laying around here and just see how I can decorate this scene. So I'm going to go looking and see what I can find. All right, so have a look here. I think I may have disturbed a couple of the local wildlife. A couple of big possums up there. This place is surrounded by them, but yeah, you can see them there. Anyway, I'm sure they'll have a good look at me and not to be too worried about it. All right, so as you can see, I'm setting up all these different things. I've got my lantern here, which I'm going to put on this piece of wood, this old box, shovel handle. Found it over there. I'm just going to lean it there fairly casually. Got some wool down here on the floor. Got our drum, our trusty drum here with a bit of a pulley sitting there. I'm not quite sure what that is. The shearing equipment up here. And you can see there's just a bit of a broom. It's an old homemade broom. What a ripper. And down here I found this little trolley. So I'm just going to place it down there. Hopefully that's pretty randomly placed. There's a chair down the back here, just sitting in that corner. But apart from that, look, it's just the rustic nature of the place that is appealing. Look at the timber, it's just so gorgeous. So, and the floor is quite rickety, so I have to be quite careful when I'm actually taking these images that I don't move around too much. I have to move to do the light painting, but as far as the camera, which is just positioned right here. And so speaking of the camera, I've got my Nikon Z6 Mark II with the 20mm f1.8 lens. Now this is down about this height because I want to try and keep it as straight as possible. Now, any of you guys who have ever done real estate photography will know if you're shooting with a fairly wide angle lens and you move it up and down on the angle, the straight lines of the buildings start to lean in or lean out. So I'm trying to get it as square on as possible to alleviate that. Having said that, some of these straight up pieces of timber are not straight. So it's an old shed, which is part of the character of the place. But I'm shooting this at f8. So I want to get a fairly deep depth of field. I've focused on the lantern there, which is about the middle of the scene. And I'm pretty happy that everything's going to be in focus. I'm going to be shooting at 10-second shutter speeds at ISO 500. I've got my white balance set to 4800 Kelvin. And I'm going to be using my I haven't got it here with me, my little lead lenser torch with the half CTO gel. So I'll play around with the white balance later on, but I'm going to get going and let's see how we go lighting this up. Oh, and by the way, I'm using a remote shutter release so that I can be away from the camera and I can actually trigger the camera whilst I'm down there doing the light painting. Now, as far as the light painting goes, this is my method for lighting something like a room such as this. I'll be starting here and I'll be going down this side wall, light painting all of the elements that are on that side of the wall. I'll go down the back wall and do that, and then I will turn around and I'll come back down this wall on this side, and that gives me the ability to remember where I've been and what I've actually done. Now, there will be some crossovers. For example, this part down here in the middle, I'll possibly have to light that from both sides, because what I'm aiming to not have are ugly shadows when I shine the torch around. So the reason I will work on that is because when you have the dark shadow, it just doesn't look quite as good. But I tell you what, if you keep the light source moving around, the shadows move with it. And because of that, it tends to alleviate the shadows being a problem. So I've just got to make sure I'm on top of that. So my advice to you is to just take your time and just be methodical about the way that you light these scenes. Okay, well, here we go. I'm going to start down this wall and I'm going to make my way down the other side, shooting everything as I go. So here we go. Okay, well, I think that's about it. I've done somewhere over 20 images, but there's quite a few double ups there where I've gone over it more than once, because sometimes you just got to make sure that you get the shot. And you know, going back to look at the screen, sometimes they look a little bit either too bright or too dull. So I just, to be sure, I go back and shoot the same shot a couple of times. And subjects like this wool on the floor here, very, very difficult to light because it's so reflective. So it's just some of the things that you have to think about when you're shooting a scene like this. But anyway, I think I've done a pretty good job. So I'll just get all this stuff, put it back to where it should be, and leave the shed the way that I found it. All right, so our next job is to edit these images, and I'm going to be using Lightroom and Photoshop to do that. So let's get on the computer. All right, so here we are in Lightroom, and you can see this is my first image, which I've lit the side here on the right, and you can see my settings over here, f8, 10 seconds, ISO 500. I haven't done very much. I've added clarity to this image. Also, if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see I've enabled profile corrections and a little bit of noise reduction, plus 20 luminance, plus 20 contrast, plus 50, 48 in color. Depending on what your camera needs, you'll know what to do there. You can see I've done nothing much here at all with any of these settings. There may be the odd pictures through here that I have done. Now, if you have a look at most of these, I've had a bit of a look at some of them, and you can see this one's plus 20. This one here, nothing, minus 19 in highlight. So I've noticed here in this one there's a bit too much highlight. Just to give you an example, I'm not going to go through every single image. That would just take up too much time. But you can see here various adjustments that I've done on these images. Most of them, as you can see, there's hardly anything done at all. So anywhere where I think there's a bit of a blowout in there, I might do something a bit different. Now this one here, for example, is quite dark, so I've put plus 0.41 in the exposure, because I'm probably only going to use this bit here. But anyway, you can see out of all these images, I've only got a couple. There's one there, and I think, oh well, there's not many that I haven't used. There's 1, 2, yeah. So in total, I've got 26 images. Now, the very first image I took just a plain old image just to show you what this looks like if you took a single exposure, just with a little bit of light thrown in there so you can see every detail. And, you know, it's fine as far as an image goes, but there's no ambience, there's nothing there that really stands out to me at all. So what I'm going to do now is because I've already done the edits, and by the way, you can see this very first image, that's my microphone light, that blue light which I had on my hip. I saw that after this first image. It turned the microphone off, and so it's not showing on any of the other images, because that could well be quite annoying. You can see this red light, that is caused by my remote trigger release, I think, possibly in my hand. So I've got to be careful of stray lights like that that are flowing around the place. All right, so what I'm going to do now is select all of the images, which I just did by pressing Control A on my Windows keyboard here. Now I don't want this first one, so if I hold down Control here and click on that one, it deselects that one. I'm going to go through, there's another one, number 7 there, I don't want that. And number 10, I don't want that. The rest of them, you can see I've done edits on. Now, the reason I don't want these two images is because they're double ups. I've already got them. I've gone through each one individually, checked and made sure. It was probably just, I doubled it up because I wasn't sure I got the exposure right in the first one. And I've done it again, and it's as simple as that. So what I've now got, out of 26 images, I've got 23 selected. And so I'm going to right click anywhere on any of those images and go to Edit In, Open as Layers in Photoshop. And let's just wait for that to happen, and we'll come back in Photoshop. All right, so this is what it looks like when we open Photoshop. You can see all of my layers down here on the right-hand side of the page. And I think you will agree, there's a lot of them there. If you've got a laptop, they will fall off the bottom. You won't find it easy to see them all. And sometimes there's just too much clutter up here. So I often get rid of some of these menus and things up here just to create a bit more space. But anyway, what we're going to do here is we're going to select the top layer, scroll all the way down to the second bottom layer, hold down Shift on the keyboard and click that. And you can see how now those are all selected. And all I'm going to do here at the moment is go to my blend mode here and change that from normal to lighten. And suddenly you get a bit of an impression, albeit with all sorts of squiggles around the page, of what this image is going to look like as a final product. So what we have to do at this point is work out where all of these squiggles are and rub them all out. Now the way I'm going to do that is with layer masks. So I'm going to turn off all of these layers except the top layer and the bottom layer. Now the reason I've left the bottom layer there is because that gives me a blank reference, if you like. When I start rubbing out bits of these layers, you will be able to see the lines disappear, and it won't necessarily go all the way through and rub out to just checker plate background that you see in Photoshop. So anyway, let me explain. I'll just show you how to do it. So top layer selected, click on Add Layer Mask. Down here on the bottom, you can see my white layer mask has come up, and I've got to make sure I've got a black paintbrush selected. So I've got the paintbrush tool here selected. I've got to make sure this is black, not white. So you can change between black and white by clicking that little arrow, that right angled arrow. So I'm on black. Go up to a paintbrush here. I'll go to a soft brush, and let's make it about 480 roughly. It doesn't matter. I've got to make the opacity 100%, flow 100, smoothing 100, everything 100 up there. And on that layer mask, just rub it out. As you can see, it's gone. I'm rubbing out all of this up here because this is obviously not needed. That's just showing the torch, the flashlight, and that blue streak, which was my microphone. So you can see what I actually did light paint was over here. I'm not rubbing that out. Next one, let's go down, add a layer mask. And I'm just going to do the same thing on every single layer. I'm just going to rub it out, as you can see. This is not a difficult process, but it can sometimes be a little bit time consuming. So I may fast forward through this in a minute, but I'll just go through a few here just to show you what I'm doing, and you can hopefully get a handle on this. Now remember, I've got the raw files of every single one of these images available for you to download, and you can practice this all by yourself, same image, and you will get the same result as what I'm doing here. So there we are, I'm rubbing myself out. Now, you know, I do get a bit of a complex about this, rubbing myself out, but I've had therapy, so I'm okay now. All right, here we go. Now I'm just going to rub out. I've got to be careful here because I don't want to rub out the wall that I've actually light painted. Now it's very important that I don't stand in front of the area I'm trying to light paint. And here I was standing over in this area painting across in this direction, and I don't think there's anything to rub out. Let me just zoom in a little bit on this one, because it's really easy sometimes to miss. Oh, hang on, there we go. There is something up there. So look, just a little bit in there. So easy to miss that. So I am going to add a layer mask, go in, and gently, I'll make that brush smaller, rub out my brush there. There we go. All good. No problem at all. Next layer. Yeah, and you can see as we're adding bits and pieces in here, it becomes a little bit more difficult to spot where that light source is coming from. So I'm going to click on the layer mask and rub out the light source. As you can see here, I've got to be careful once again not to rub out over in this side, because that's where I'm actually light painting. It pays to wear dark coloured clothing when you're doing this, by the way. Next one. Okay, well, this is pretty obvious. I've got to rub out this here, make the brush a bit bigger, and rub it out. There you can see the light on that chair. Very, very good. Next one. Okay, so the light's up there. That's pretty obvious as well. So we'll add a layer mask. You can see what's going on here. I think what I might do right now is fast forward this so that I'm not boring you with all the details here. And when I've done this part of the edit, we'll come back and I'll explain what I'm going to do after that. Alright, so you can see that I put my layer masks on all of those. You'll notice one down here which has no layer mask, and the reason for that is because you can see that it affects the roof line up the back here, and that's because I was actually out of the room. I was right down on the left hand here, so there's no torch or flashlight in the scene at all, so it's not a problem. I didn't have to rub anything out, so therefore I don't need a layer mask. Alright, so the next thing to do is for me to zoom in and work around this image and make sure that I haven't left anything in that I should have rubbed out. And what I mean by that is things like part of my clothing, my feet. Sometimes I light my boots up and I can see them there on the ground, and I don't want them to be visible. So I'm just going to go around the image, move in a little bit closer, and you can see there the detail that is in this shot by using this particular method of light painting. It's incredible. Now, you can see everything's sharp and in focus, and I focused on that lantern just there, or that box. And so you can see the depth of field is very, very strong at f8. And this looks pretty good. I can't see anything that looks like a stray bit of flashlight, so I'm very happy about that. Now my friends, my possums have gone. They were up here in this area, so they've taken off in the meantime. So yeah, this is looking really, really good. All right, so my next job is to just have a bit more of a look at this image and work out if there's anything I don't like. To be honest, I like most of it, but you know, this hand trolley down here, let me just go in a bit closer and show you what I'm talking about. Perhaps a fraction overlit. Now let me just find the layer it's on. So it takes a while sometimes to find the layer. There it is. Now, if you look at that, when I turn the layer on and off, you can see there's a fair bit of light that, I don't know, do I want it or don't I? Well, the reality is I can use this layer mask and gently rub out portions of that image and just see what it does for me. So if I rub out a little bit of that highlight there, as you can see, I think that actually adds to the image. I don't know about you. I mean, you can edit this the way you want. You know, if I think I've gone too far with that, I can just go back over here, turn it to white and rub it back in. So nothing ventured, nothing gained when it comes to this. See, I think that looks better. I've only done a little bit of rubbing out of some of the areas on the handles, but you know, I just think it looks better than what it did before. And you know, it's completely up to us and our own individual tastes when it comes to that sort of thing. Now we can look around the room here, see if there's anything that we think is too bright perhaps, but look, I really like it. I really, really do. I think this looks fantastic. Look at the detail. You can read quite clearly the text up there on that motor lister. Isn't that fantastic? Now remember, this is only a 24 megapixel camera, but because I'm layering so many images together, this is a very dense image, which is full of detail, which is the whole point of doing this method that we're talking about. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is flatten the image. Now, a lot of you are going to say, oh, no, you can't flatten the image. There could be something wrong. Well, that may be the case sometimes when you do this, and I would suggest you do this. Make sure you've rubbed out all the bits first. But at this point in time, I'm actually pretty happy with what I'm doing. So I'm going to go up to Layer, Flatten Image, and you will notice it takes a little while to do this because there's a fair bit of processing. There we are. One single layer. All right, now I'm going to hop out of Photoshop and head back to Lightroom. So I'm going to click up here, ask me if I want to save that. I just press yes. I haven't saved it as a PSD or anything like that. I'm just saving it yes there. And what that will do now is open this image as one single layer back into Lightroom. Okay, here we are in Lightroom. Let's just have a look at that at a full screen. F on the keyboard. Look at that. That is very, very nice. So the question I have now is there anything else I can do to make this image a little bit better? Well, one thing I am going to do here is increase the exposure just a little bit, but I'll show you why in a minute. Just a little bit. Now what I'm going to do, maybe just a touch of contrast to really fatten this up. Oh, that looks beautiful. Love it. And now what I'm going to do is add a radial gradient filter. I'm going to click on that and draw a fairly large radial gradient across the image, about that size there. Drag it to the middle. Now I click over here where it says invert, and I'm going to drop the exposure here a fair bit. And what that's doing is adding a vignette to the image around the outside. But the reason I used a radial gradient rather than the built-in vignette tool in Lightroom is because I can move it around. As you can see, this is a great tool. You can move it anywhere you want. And the other thing which I really like about this tool, you can see when I hover over it, the red shows the overlay. And you can see that is what is being affected. Now, sometimes I don't want quite that much affected. So what you can do in that case is click over here on this subtract tool and select a brush, which I'm going to do here. And then you'll notice the brush comes up with a minus sign on it. And it means I can actually rub out some of that vignette. So I'm going to do that with a fairly large brush just in the center here. Any of the details that I think might need to be retained a bit. And that's all I'm going to do. It's still showing that vignette around the outside because that's what I want. I want to draw the viewer into the image. So I'm going to click out of that masking edit, hit F on the keyboard, and here we have our final image, and I think it looks absolutely stunning. So we have 23 images edited in Lightroom, blended together using layer masks in Photoshop, and that is our final result. I absolutely love it. So there you go. I really hope you found this video to be somewhat helpful in your both post-processing and your shooting in the field in this old wool shed. And look, I'll be really keen to read your comments down below in the comment section. Feel free to download these files at the web address shown below as well. So until I see you guys in the next video, I think I'm getting attacked by some more bugs here, so I better get out of here. I'll look forward to seeing you then. You have a fantastic week.